I read Blaze by Gemma Weir. I love Gemma Weir and her Mountain Men of Montana series. It's like my not so guilty pleasure. It's just a pleasure. Now that series is complete, but she just wrote the first book in a spin-off series called Blaze. This book is about Buck, who is the brother of one of the girls who married into the Barnett family in the series. I think he's introduced in like book 5 or something like that. Him, his brother, and their little sister Junie moved to town a little while ago to be smoke jumpers, which are basically firefighters who jump out of helicopters to get to like rural areas where fire trucks maybe wouldn't have access. But since his sister married into the Barnetts, they're sort of pseudo Barnetts now, and the legend of the Barnett family is like love at first sight. It happened to all the brothers. All these books are insta-love, insta-lust, he fell first, all that jazz. All the dudes are very alpha, generally pretty primal, and they range from a little bit crazy to like psychotic at times. So Buck witnessed this happen with a few of the brothers after they joined the fold, and he thought it was kind of nice, but definitely not the norm. He's like, this is an exclusive thing to this family. Real life is not like this, until he meets James. Now, I can't remember James' job title exactly, but she was like a businesswoman, I think does something with finance, because when they meet, she's meeting with him to go over the budgets of the past year for, because he's the chief of all the smoke jumpers, to go over their budgets and stuff. He's like, James, okay, assuming that he's going to be meeting a man. He shows up at the diner where they're having their little breakfast meeting, and he sees the most stunning creature he's ever seen in his life. He's like, oh my gosh, I'm overcome with this feeling to make her mine, to own, to possess, to pleasure. This must be what the Barnetts feel every time they find their women, because, like, first sight, I'm over, it's done. Now, James is divorced. She married her college best friend, and a few years into their marriage, just kind of realized, I think I love my husband more like a brother than anything else. We feel like roommates, we feel like friends, but I'm not attracted to him in that way. She sometimes feels like she takes a little bit more of a maternal role in their dynamic. And she's such like a hard-ass cutthroat businesswoman that in a romantic relationship, and especially in the bedroom, she wants to be able to relinquish that control and feel dominated in respectful ways. But like a lot of us, she doesn't want to have to make all decisions all the time. Sometimes she wants a hot alpha dude to swoop in and like take care of her and make those choices for her. So she's been divorced for 3 years, but is still best friends with her ex-husband, still calls her in-laws mom and dad, is still really good friends with her sister-in-law. She doesn't really have family of her own. So when they took her in, even after the divorce, they said, you're still our daughter, we still love you, all this stuff. So after their breakfast meeting, Buck says, I'm taking you out to dinner tonight, be ready at 7. She's like, excuse you, what if I have plans? He says, change them. Just immediately takes charge with an energy that she really craves and is like, okay, she's gonna go out with him. She does, and it is a million miles an hour from there. In classic Barnett fashion, even though he's not a Barnett. They spend one night together that is just so hot and steamy and like perfect for both of them and they both obviously have very demanding jobs, that they have to go almost a week before they see each other again. He's like, pack a bag, you're staying with me for the weekend. During that weekend, they're getting to know each other, mind, body, soul. He even shocks himself with how crazy and obsessed he's become with James. At one point, he kind of pulls a Huck Barnett, which, if you don't know, in book 2 of the Mountain Men series, Huck basically wants to trap his girlfriend into not being able to leave him by getting her pregnant. So he starts making sure that she only takes the sugar pills of her birth control. It was so insane in that book. Buck is a little bit more reserved. He sees her birth control pills in her purse on his bathroom counter and goes, wouldn't it be nice if we had a baby? So he just plops him out and puts him under his sink, just hoping that maybe she'll forget about him and she'll miss 1 or 2 doses over the weekend, and that'll be like enough of a gap for him to like accidentally get her pregnant. At one point she even says, oh, I thought I packed my birth control. We would just might have to stop by my house to pick up my like spare pack. He's like, okay, yeah, totally, sure. And inside he's like, I gotta distract her. Keep us busy. He keeps them very busy over the weekend, and she does forget. But she does not get pregnant. Buck introduces her to his brother, and once he finds out that she used to be married, he kind of like acts a little weird, and that reaction kind of like triggers her. So she kind of shuts down emotionally, acts like a total bee, and he's like, why were you acting that way? Why were you being so weird in front of my brother? Now he thinks like that you're mean and you're not. She explains that that's like a defense mechanism. That's one thing that I really enjoyed in this book. No matter how unrealistic it is, they are very in tune with each other right away. Like, he can sense what she's feeling before she's feeling it and kind of helps her put words to those emotions, which I loved. It's so sweet. Also, anytime they're not together, he sends her food for every meal. She wakes up, knock, knock, knock. There's a breakfast delivery. She has friends over, knock, knock, knock. Chinese food for dinner for you and your friends. Even if he's not with her, he's like, I want to take care of you. Let me do this for you. Stop. They're both falling in love with each other, but obviously there's like this weird, because like they're both very logical people, and they're like, this is too fast. He's like, well, if witnessing the Barnetts has taught me anything, it's that sometimes a connection doesn't need to abide by social norms to like work out. He's like, you were with your ex-husband for 8 years and you've been divorced for 3. Tell me that you had even close to a connection after knowing your husband for as long as you did, that like we've had over just like a weekend. Speaking of which, her ex-husband invites her over to family dinner because that's something that's not that weird. She still has dinner with him. He still calls their house that she doesn't live in anymore, he calls it our house, and she's like, I'll come over to your house. He's like, it's our house. Clear as day, he's still in love with her, and he's still just like waiting for her to like be over this divorce and like marry him again. So her and Buck have actually decided to move in together. He's hired people to come pack up all of her stuff. He's moved his brother out of his house. He's figured out a new roommate situation for her best friend and roommate, and she invites Buck to come to this dinner with her. Her ex-husband shows up at her door, and just as Buck is showing up at her door to like go over to his house. Drama right away. Her ex-husband is like, who's this motherfucker? And Buck's like, I'm her new man, bitch. Respectfully, of course. She thought that taking Buck to dinner would be this fabulous idea because the family has always said, we just want you to be happy. We love you so much. They take her bringing him to this family meal as like the biggest insult. Because surprise, surprise, they've all secretly been hoping that she would get back together with their son and that she would make things right. And so they see this as her bringing the man she's having an affair with and like flaunting it in her face, his face, like as disrespectful. And the house is still like a shrine to their relationship. He has their wedding photos up, like everything about the relationship. Like it's just, he's been, encapsulating it until she comes back. She was naive to think that he wasn't still holding a candle for her, but I see it. She doesn't have any other family. She just like, she wanted it to be that way, so she like kind of turned, So she tells Buck, why don't you go? I'll stay here and I'll calm people down. And he's really upset that she would ask him to go. So he leaves for a little bit and then says, no, I need to go get my girl back. So he shows up and sees her sitting on a couch with her ex-husband's arm around her, and then he kisses her on the lips, and he's infuriated, so he leaves. Totally missed the fact that as soon as their lips touched, she pushed her ex-husband away and was like, what are you doing? We're not together. I'm in love with someone else. She leaves the party, calls Buck immediately, but he turned his phone off, and he ignores her for over 24 hours. Emotionally, it's hell for her. She decides, this man has too much emotional power over me. I need to distance myself a little bit because I can't be feeling this way from someone not speaking to me for a day. When he finally turns his phone back on, he sees all the messages coming through about what really happened. He goes to see her, but she's already kind of shut down. And he has to do a lot of work to sort of reverse the damage that he did by ignoring her. He confesses his deep love for her. He also comes clean about him hiding her birth control, and she was like, you're stupid. But I love you, and I definitely want that someday. She forgives him. He helps her process the disappointment of sort of like losing this family that she thought would be hers forever. And they live happily ever after. These books are just so delicious and delightful. I love them. And I'm so happy that Gemma Weir has given us like a little bit of an extension. I don't know how many books are going to be in this one because there's just 2 brothers. But there are other smoke jumpers. So I don't know, potentially those side characters, maybe. We'll see. If she writes it, I'll read it. I would highly recommend. Happy reading.